Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this August 28th, 2015 day on our calendar. And I am your host, Greg Anthony, and you're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my shows every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on FirstAmendmentRadio.com. And I don't know why I say our calendar. It isn't our calendar. It's, you know who made that calendar up? Rome, way back when, the Gregorian calendar. Well, my name's Gregory. Maybe it is my calendar. I have no idea, but they figured out something. You know, I'm so bored with 7 days a week. I want 10 days. Well, why don't we just have 365 new days, one new day every day? You know, what's with this 7 days? You know, what's with this 12 months, 12 apostles? Is that where they got it from? I have no idea, but that's what we live our life. You know, today's Friday, so I act a certain way on Friday, right? Last day of the week, weekend coming. Well, I didn't do my show the last couple days because I had a toothache. I wish I really didn't have any teeth, to be honest with you. Constantly going, I spent more money on my teeth than I have on anything else. I mean, it's amazing, you know. First of all, you have to eat. If you didn't have to eat, you wouldn't need teeth, right? And then they only give you 2 sets. You know, what's that all about? Why not just have a new tooth every time you lose one, get another one? Whatever happened with that? Can't we figure that out? You know? I don't know. But anyway, I got a good show planned for you today. It's Friday. I didn't do 2 shows. And I want to, you know, Friday sometimes is a day that you do a lot of reflecting on how crazy and mixed up your week was. You know, I have very few good weeks. Some people even ask me, how have you not committed suicide doing what you do? I said, you know, you don't understand. I enjoy the human experience and watching people make fools of themselves. Yeah, I really do. That's when I turn on the TV every day and I can laugh my head off. You know, they do say to keep healthy, you need to belly laugh at least for 4 or 5 minutes a day. How many of you really get a good laugh every day? And then they say you need to listen to a song that you like a lot. And before I get into some serious stuff today, because I am still working on the Alamo ministry story, and many people call me crazy for doing this story. They say, what are you trying to prove? I said, listen, there's a guy in jail for 175 years who doesn't deserve to be there. Children are being kidnapped by the state, and you're asking me why I do it? Oh, maybe I should just roll over and say, oh, the state is right. Well, I've worked on this story for almost 10 years, and I'll tell you what. I'm not ever going to stop with it. I've got some people now helping me. We're going to get this story out on AM stations, FM stations, one way or another, by hook or by crook. People are going to hear about this because they're going to hear, and it's really a perfect time to get this started because that idiot that wears a dress, the Pope, is coming here. You know, and all these people are going to lay down at his feet. He's going to kiss the soil. Watch when he gets off the airplane. That's exactly what he's going to do, is kiss the ground. Because that's his way. Oh, he loves our land, they're going to say. No, he's saying, this is my territory. And he's telling all his Illuminati friends that he's the boss. And you know what? He is. Just check into their wealth. You know, that's why Tony Alamo's sitting in jail right now. Back in the 80s, he started talking about this stuff when people weren't even talking about it. And he told you the truth. But people want to live in a fantasy world. They can't handle, you know, remember that Jack Nicholson, they can't handle the truth? Well, that's the only true thing that ever came out of that movie. But anyway, so before we get to that, you know, I'm just worried about people's health. You know, first of all, nobody laughs anymore. Second of all, nobody listens to a song they really like every day because there's so much crappy music out there. I mean, there's crazy crap they give us now. It's ridiculous. So I went back and found a song that I really liked. Call it hokey, call it whatever, and I'm going to play that for you after we do a big belly laugh. And third, we're going to talk about, you know, there's this doctor trying to cure cancer, and this other doctor says, oh, you better not do that. We'd lose all our funding. And that's really what it's all about. So let's have a big belly laugh. Okay, I already feel better. Now, that's for you and your health. I want you to have a big belly laugh. I'm going to count to 10, and you're going to do it. 1, and I'm not doing it. 2, 3, 4. I'll just count to 5. 5. Now do it. All right. I can hear all of you belly laughing. All right. Now, guess what we're going to do? we're going to play a song. Maybe do it to yourself. I'm going to play one I like. Now think about if you can guess who sang it. Email me. This is like typical radio, right? But anyway, it's Friday. We got to act like Friday, right? That's what they tell us. Only 7 days a week. That's all. Every day. It's just monotonous, isn't it? Monday. It just keeps going on. I enjoyed it in Italy because I changed the names. It was lunedì, martedì, mercoledì, giovedì, venerdì, sabato, domenica. I had some fun with that for a while. But that even got old. But you know what I would do then? I would go, today's lunedì. No, tomorrow's Tuesday. So I really had 2 days so I had 14 days, right? But anyway, let's play the song because, I was thinking about it. People need to belly laugh once every day. They need to listen to a song they really like every day. And then they need to do some serious thinking every day, which no one does. How many people, the controllers of this country don't want you to think. And start really thinking, critically about what the hell is going on in the world. It's not going to get you down. Really, it won't. In fact, it'll make you feel good that you're actually thinking and not just repeating all these stupid things you hear on the news, all these stupid things you hear from a lot of these pastors out there when you go to church on Sunday. I don't even know why people go, to be honest with you. You know what? I started thinking about it, and I said back in the 80s, when I came back to the States, I said, after that crazy experience I had in the Vatican when I worked there and learned about all that stuff, and had to really deal with, my belief systems. I grew up a Catholic. I was also a journalist who thought that, there was got to be a good side to the American government. And I didn't hold the opinion back then that I don't believe one word those two organizations say, and they're both corrupted as hell. And both of them are just nothing but satanic worshipers. And I'll tell you that right now. That's the way I think today. Now, how can you live in a world like that, they say? How can you function, Greg? You should have killed yourself a long time ago. I know a few people have said that. Would probably be happier. But I have too much fun watching the human experience. It's crazy, isn't it? It is fun to get up every day and watch people really make fools of themselves. And then, you know what? I've always liked a lot of people in this country. Believe it or not, all the things I've said over the years, I do like people. And as George Carlin says, but I can only take them in short bursts. After 1 or 2 minutes, forget about it. Most of them, forget about it. But there are some people I like to hang around with, and those are the people that actually want to live in a truthful world. Yeah, and I found a lot of them to be, there's a number of them that were at the Alamo Christian Ministry, and I met a lot of them. Remember, some of them came over to my where I lived in years ago, and we talked, because I wanted to check them out. I wanted to see what they really like, and I said, man, why is the government bringing these people down? I mean, they work hard. They believe in. They have a belief system that's founded in good things. You may agree with them. You may not believe in Jesus and all that stuff they do. But you know what? It's better that you believe in something that has some good to it, doesn't it? And these people did. And I watched how this ministry was targeted. Then I listened, because when I came back to the States, I was, it's funny, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, I'm just like my dog Max. Me and him, we don't like to get involved with other people. And they just laughed. You're always sticking your nose into things that you're always, what do you think you are? You're a journalist. You stick your nose into places you shouldn't be. I said, yeah. So I stuck my nose out when I came back to the States, and I said, I got to find people who talk against this organization called the Vatican, that has taken away all of our rights, that has all this land here in this. I mean, it's incredible what these guys do. And then when you look at the double talk, you start going, I got to tell people this. So I started looking around, and I found some people. Not many, but I did find some people. And one was this guy, Tony Alamo, and he had this ministry. And he nailed the Vatican right to the... Nailed it. I listened to it, and I said, these are the things, man, and some of them I didn't even know about. And I'd lived there for 7 years, right under the eye of the beast. Walked by that, walked through St. Peter's Square, I don't know how many times. I'm surprised my shoes didn't burn off, But anyway, so I started looking into them, and I started realizing that it's kind of like nothing good is allowed to function in this country. Think about it. Everybody does this thing on, let's talk about assassinations. What are they doing to this guy in jail? He's in there for 175 years. They didn't assassinate him, but he's sitting in a jail cell. He doesn't belong there. Now, the point I want to make, think about assassinations. Who gets assassinated? It seems like, people going back to, to Lincoln, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, all these guys, Malcolm X, they were all spreading peace. John Lennon, I don't care what you think about these people, but they're all spreading peace, but that can't exist. Not in this country. It's not good for, people just can't have it. Because mankind especially America, we're a warring people. We're the only species that murders its own for, pleasure. Hunters, yeah. We murder our own and we'll murder other species just for pleasure. Or because we're angry. So, peace can't exist. And that's why I don't commit suicide. It's too much fun, it's too much fun to watch. Look at these people. And they believe this stuff. Just turn on the TV and listen to Donald Trump, I get a kick out of it. It is hilarious to watch this stuff. And it's more hilarious when you get into the spiritual arena. Then it really gets fun. I remember Tony pointing out to me years ago, I talked to him because he had a pretty good finger on what was going on. And what I mean by that is he knew the pastors out there, like these big guys on TV. Start with Billy Graham. Go back to that Time magazine article where they put his head right there, so the M, it has the points at the top look like two horns. Give me a break. They did that a couple times to their insiders. And then Tony said, just watch these guys on TV and watch when they give the hook 'em horns Satan sign, and why they're preaching God. And that just gives you a tip of the iceberg of where these guys are at. So we got to, I get a kick out of it. I can't leave this planet with all this good stuff going on. Why should I? Look, today, I imagine I'll run into I like people, like I said, and there's a number of people out there, maybe one out of a million, like in the Alamo ministry, who really understand this stuff. But the rest of them are, there's a lot of dumb idiots in this country. Let's just say it the way it is. A lot of dummies that walk out there spewing off this garbage. They have no idea what they say, but they believe it because they've been told it. That's it, And it is incredibly interesting. Me, I'm pretty simple, I am pretty simple. I don't believe anything they say, and I don't believe anything that comes out of the mouth of all those ministers that talk about all this stuff on Sunday. In fact, when I go to church on Sunday, I don't go. But I used to go just to see what the hell they're talking about. All these ecumenical ministers. Those are the ones underneath the Vatican who, they're reading tainted Bibles and they're doing all this stuff. And you know what? I enjoy. I go to a Baptist. I used to go to all these. I even enjoyed going to the synagogue, listen to this stuff. In fact, it was even fun talking to these rabbis. They get into everything, and they are very meticulous, and I have a lot of laughs with them. But the point I'm trying to make is, this is serious business with the Alamo ministry. I've been covering it for a while, and I want to give you an update right now. Okay, and the thing is, I'm writing a screenplay, and it's not what you think it is. Somebody's going to say, well, yeah, the guy's been persecuted, and you're going to talk about how Christians, just like Chris Pinto does with his document. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to leave you in suspense. When this comes out, you will see the importance of your own belief systems, questioning everything. That's the whole thing. And then once you question everything, you have an idea to make a choice. And when you make that choice, what are you going to do with it? For example, these people, man, I just talked to a couple people in his ministry the other day, and he's still helping them. This one girl calls me and says, I'm going over to New York she lives somewhere in Texas. She's still with the ministry, although they're trying to dismantle it. And Tony's paying for all my medical stuff because I'm not feeling well. He does this stuff still from jail. He's not running a mafia organization like they used to, like Luckily, remember when they put Lucky Luciano in jail? And he ran all the illegal stuff? Tony's just the opposite. He's still helping his people the best he can while it's just a criminal act. They're taking away his property. When you look at the story, you go, my goodness, what the hell is going on in this country? 100 years ago, this wouldn't have happened. 100 years ago, people were actually trying to block this stuff from happening. Right. And you can go right down the street in any neighborhood in this country, and you'll find what I'm talking about. They're going to take your land. They're going to take your belief system. They're going to take your mind, body, and soul right from you. And that's what this ministry really is all about. So in my little screenplay, it's going to be interesting. And you know what? I've been contacting AM and FM stations as well as, mainstream. Now, this is interesting. Coast to coast. I could get, I'm going to talk to them. They've wanted me on their show in a long time, and I always don't. A lot of people listen. And I know they're a shill organization, but that's what most of these AM stations are anyway. So let's see if we can get this message across. And then let's see what kind of flack I get for it. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. But people got to hear this. Because I am so tired of people just... how many people are in jail right now that don't belong there? It's incredible. And the people that should be there aren't there. That's how we function in this country. And I like to say this. There's just enough BS going around to keep us together. It's kind of the wax, the glue that keeps this country together. All the BS we listen to and believe. And without that, it would collapse. And I wish it would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? Just go, the questions, when you say question everything, I think it even biblically states that. It doesn't mean question what you think is appropriate or politically correct. The words we use tell us how we've lukewarmed there. I could go through a litany of things talking about how words have made these criminal acts seem, just the way life is. But anyway, talking about this, how would you like to sit in jail for 175 years for something you didn't do? Now, how many other people are there that, and then you hear this, well, everybody says they're innocent. Well, unfortunately, there are many people in jail that don't belong there. And when you start looking into that, I did years ago when I was in law school, and I started to look at the California Three Strikes Law. Now, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if they've amended it or not, but they decided that if you had 3 felonies, you're going to spend life in jail. And the felonies happen to be things like, if you go in and steal a Mounds bar from a 7-Eleven, or you get caught with little marijuana over the limit, that's a felony. 3 of those, and you're spending jail for life. So there are people there going, okay, I found a guy, he stole a screwdriver, a Mounds bar, and he had a little bit extra marijuana or cocaine on him, and he's in jail for life. Now, that's fair, isn't it? Oh, hell yeah. Then you got these mass murderers. You got these government guys who go around killing people like it's, picking flowers in the daisy patch. And they're out running the streets, figuring out more false flags, and terror to put on you. But that's okay. Clinton, he's still around. You know how many people died because of that guy? Or how about Bush? I mean, don't we think about that? No. That's because they're our leaders. Take me to your leader. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The rapture will be canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal. You know how long this show's been out? God, I don't know. Years. Started this thing back, 2003, somewhere in that range. And that's after my long career as a mainstream journalist. And I migrated over into the entertainment industry just because it was kind of a way over in Italy to make some money. When you're there, and there were a lot of American movies there at the time. But I learned a lot about the Vatican. I learned a lot about a lot of things there, and tried to bring that information over here, and found this guy, Tony Alamo, who told me a lot of interesting things. I was looking for people in this country back in the 90s who understood this stuff, and there weren't very many. And so I kept the story in my back pocket and followed this ministry and watched it to being targeted by the government. So back in 2009, I want to get this clear right now. Back in 2009, this is a year after that final raid they had where they took all these kids and wouldn't let their parents, they said there was abuse charges, and there was none. That's a fact. The only thing they could find was that, you didn't vaccinate your children. Oh yeah? That's abuse? That's protecting them. And I'd get into that another time. You know what they're putting into these vaccinations? There's about 270 new ones they have coming out. Unbelievable. And this one medical doctor finds this interesting relationship between cancer cells and our immune system. And I believe they're putting this bad stuff in these vaccinations just to break down the immune system. Amazing. And that's abuse. No, it isn't. And then they said, well, they're homeschooled. They got a better education, in homeschool than they did at public school. And they said that's abuse. You know why they said it's abuse? Because let me tell you something. What I really can't stand are you ever go down the street and you see that bumper sticker? My kid was an honor student at John Merriweather Public School, and I am so, you know what? Every time I see one of those, I want to rip it off. Why don't you put something truthful on there like, my daughter is the only one that hasn't got pregnant in public school this year. Now, I'd like to see that one. That's more truthful. But anyway, that was all they could find as far as abuse charges. So then, they say Tony Alamo abused these kids. Now, here's what I started thinking about this. And, they always charge people and figure out ways, they get informants, they try to frame people with what the Vatican and the Illuminati do. If I had to count the number of kids that are being molested right this minute in the world by the Vatican, you know what? You would be astounded. And then when you start looking, go to Ireland and talk to some of the people there. Go to Germany. Go, here, I'm telling you, people don't want to deal with it. Oh, there's a few people out there talking about these pedophile priests. And then, you know what they say? Oh, there's a bad side to the church, and the good guys are going to win. No, they're not. There isn't a good side to this church. First of all, it's not. If it is anything, it's a satanic pagan organization that still performs these perverted acts and wants you to become just like them. That's exactly what they are. So Tony told you about this years ago, and they had to get him because he was getting 300,000 to 400,000, maybe even more hits a week, sending millions of things out to people so they could, This guy was really trumpeting this message because he said you got to question everything. And don't become an ecumenical pastor where you just kind of gloss over the Vatican. And that really did him in, I think. But anyway, looking back in 2009, I remember writing a story because I had I do have an interest in the law. And that interest, it's amazing. The law is used, the American law is used to protect the guilty and to put the innocent in jail. That's exactly what it is. And the most endangered species in this country is an honest judge. So, lawyers back then filed a motion in 2009 for a new trial. This guy was convicted in what was worse than a kangaroo court. And after that, I got contacted by you don't know how many kangaroos and said, we do not want to be associated with this because, I'm telling you, we're getting a bad name. It was so bad that even the kangaroos admitted it was a kangaroo court and they wanted the name changed. And I don't tell you how many contacted me from Australia. It was worse than a kangaroo court. Now, he was convicted on 10 counts of violating the Mann Act, a federal law prohibiting the transport of minors across state lines for illicit purposes. Now, let's just look at this. If he was abusing kids, why didn't they charge him with the straight abuse law? Like rape, like all these other things. No, they couldn't because they couldn't find anything. So what they did is use this legal loophole. This Mann Act was passed a long time ago, and this was to protect pimps from taking prostitutes, kids across state lines. Just like, how many of the pedophile rings in this country where the Vatican and the head leaders of our country are involved doing this? Oh, that's okay. There's a stand down at the local level. That's how they get these kids out of there. Kid gets kidnapped off his paper route. Pretty soon, the mother starts saying, hey, I had a witness say I saw a kid go in the car pull up and take my kid. That's what they're saying. Let's find him, officer. And you know what the police chief says? Oh, he's a runaway. Let's give it some time. A runaway, 28 to 48 hours, you'll never find the kid again. That's where all these, all these faces come on the milk cartons. And starts at the local level. You know why? Because the feds pay him off. And they'll probably know if they didn't play ball with him, they'd be killed. But Alamo, he was convicted on the Mann Act. Now that's this, he's a pastor taking kids to, the whole bunch of kids in a bus to a ministry function in another state because they got several ministries all across the country. So they figured, hey, let's use this and then we'll bribe the kids and do all this to prove this and we'll get this guy finally out of our hair. We'll get him in jail, and that we've been doing this for years. We can't, they already put him in jail for 4 years back in 2000 or back in the 90s for a bogus. They steal his books out of one of his businesses and then say that he's violating tax laws. And he could never prove because they took him. And that was proven that they took his books, but then he couldn't prove that he didn't violate the law. So what is that all about? So he spent 4 years on what that was, folks. And this is what they do. Not only with him, they've done it with other people. Okay, Tony, you're in jail now for this. Now you shut up. You play ball with us, and that's all. We'll just slap your hand, a few years in jail. You can go out and do what you want. But he got even more vocal. And so they continued. Now, to convict, they found him 10 counts of violating this Mann Act. To convict Alamo falsely, the government relied on intimidating and turning five or six former Alamo ministry members who were offended, who were offered favors while being counseled at an institution called Wellspring. And then they were told they're going to be rich because we're going to file a civil case, and then you'll be a millionaire. So, what's a few lies? Just so happens that Wellspring has deep roots to the Roman Catholic Church, which is the very organization Alamo has been long criticized and called the Antichrist, as explained in the three angels message in the book of Revelations. Why you don't hear that on Sunday going to your little Baptist church, do you? Oh, no. The Antichrist is Hitler, or, they make up something just to protect big Pope friend, the mafia boss from the Vatican coming here. And why do I say that? Because when I was there in the 80s, I found out they do work with the mafia guys. And the head of the Vatican Bank, Father Marcinkus at the time, who was a archbishop from Chicago, my hometown, he was a mafia boss. He was a Freemason running the Vatican Bank. He had no banking experience, but he knew how to money launder and work with all the mafia guys to milk money. Oh, yeah, that's what they do. The Vatican Bank's the biggest money laundering operation in the world. There's no controls there. Ask John Levy, the attorney, who was trying to get money for improving. The Vatican was not only stealing gold during the during the genocide in Croatia right after World War II, but actually was involved in it. And when they tried to get reparations for the remaining family members, guess what the American court said? Oh, the Vatican doesn't do business here. Oh, really? And that's why I got out of law. How are you going to deal with people like that? How are you going to... You think you're going to get a fair trial? You got the federal district court up here in San Francisco saying the Vatican doesn't do business here, and then you're... What are these... Like I said, these judges are the most... The honest judge is the most endangered species in the world. There aren't any more. Now, to further complicate these matters during any deliberations in the Alamo trial, jury members sent a note to the judge asking, now listen to this, if they could still convict him if there was no evidence on sex on the trips. So, they sent a note going, hey, can we still convict him but there's no sex on the trips? Well, what are you convicting him for? Taking a bus? What about these kids? That's like convicting the little league baseball coach who has to take a bus from California. Let's say they bus them to California or take a plane ride to the Little League World Series that's going on now in Pennsylvania. Can we convict the Little League coach if he didn't have sex with the catcher or the pitcher? What are you talking about? No! He didn't do anything. Instead of following the letter of the law, which would have led to an answer of no by the judge, he skirted the question and instructed the jury to simply just follow his jury instructions. What the hell is that? Just say yes or no. No, you can't convict somebody if he didn't do it. And you think I'm crazy when I say these judges are crooked? Now, here's a little bit in that motion. We forget. Going back to 2009. And this was, and it's been denied after it sat on this other judge's desk for God knows how long. He didn't want to, it was a fix from the beginning. Okay. His attorneys, the original ones, I think they might as well have been called defense attorneys. Somehow the prosecution got in their pocket, and now he's got somebody else. But his appeals are few and far between at this stage. It's 2015. The court, they said back then. Now listen to this: committed error by denying defendant's motion to suppress. Okay, the motion was based on state information in the affidavit supporting the search warrant, as well as no information and reliability on any statements. Thus, all evidence collected during the September 20th, 2008 search should have been ruled inadmissible. Then we're getting in now to these admissibility evidence laws, and I don't want to get into it. I took a number of courses in that. And when I looked into this, I said they had no right to even be there. And all that information that they cut, and they had nothing anyway. Now, they also committed another error by failing, the judge fails to require the prosecution to reveal the identity of their informants. Oh, sure, just infiltrate the church and plants make up lies, take people and put them in, coerce the witnesses for weeks before the trial so they make sure they say the right thing. But that's okay. The court also erred by not allowing the original notes of the interviews with witnesses and further refusing to inspect in camera the notes of the government agents at the beginning of this whole thing. So what they did was they didn't want the jury to hear conflicting statements. In the beginning, when I looked into this and talked to a number of these people around this case, all of these girls that testified against him didn't say that. They basically said there was nothing happened. So they couldn't allow the original notes of the investigators because they needed to wait to get them coerced for 2 or 3 weeks before they gave the original, before the jury could hear the lies. They only wanted to hear the lies. Now, but, Matt Damon was, that rich, I could use some words I can't use on this show. I'd use it in my comedy act. That rich, what? He goes on some blog and says, good that this man is put away for life. You ought to be put away for life, Matt Damon, for the crappy movies you make. All right. What is Born Identity? Give me a break. The court, they committed another error. Let's see how much time I got here. I got 9 minutes. All right, let's go here. The court committed another error by refusing defense requests to see and inspect the records of Wellspring Counseling Center. They wouldn't even let the defense see the records of what was going on at that place where the government sends these kids, and then they coerce them to lie. But we couldn't see any of that. No. This is especially true since the credibilities was the ultimate issue of this case. The court committed error by refusing defendants' requests to see and inspect all FBI's 302s of witness interviews. They don't want to see anything. What is this? Now you know why the kangaroos from Australia called me. Even though the government said they did not have. Oh boy. This is so incredible that I can hardly even believe it. I really can't. But anyway, let's see if we could, I got to do, I'm just reeling here with this information that's so ridiculous that when I started looking at now I know why I didn't want to be a lawyer after law school. The court committed error by denying Defense Rule 20 motion on the sufficiency of the evidence. This is a technical evidence rule. And then it gets into, and I got an article dated August 23rd, 2009, and you can go through all the testimony that was basically one big lie to get this guy put in jail. That's how I look at it right now. But that's okay, right, America? Right. Everything's okay as long as the government tells you. How many of these, every week something new comes out. We had the Sandy Hook thing, the Boston Marathon, and we believe that stuff, even though when this evidence comes out, it's a false flag operation. I mean, I knew after 9/11 that they're going to get away with anything they want. Look, if they want to put you away, they will. You're not in their club unless you play ball with them. Unless you know, when you get cancer, you got to get chemotherapy. Don't go looking for a cure, natural cure, because you know what? They don't want that. No, you got to play ball with them. Everything in your mind, you got to play ball with them. In your spiritual life, you better play ball with them. In your financial life, everything. You know what I say? Screw them. Yeah, that's exactly what I say. And you know, I love watching the whole United States. 99% of the people just follow along like little sheeple, saying, "Oh, what a great country." You know, I'm not much for flag waving and all this stuff. I'm really not. I mean, what are we waving? We don't even know what the flag means. We're waving, you know, you think you're waving freedom. You're not waving freedom. That flag was put together by the East Indian Company. It was an actual replica of the East Indian Company. It was a slave trading flag, and it's always been. And I'm telling you, I am so tired of all this stuff, but I enjoy watching it. Oh, yeah. This Alamo case, I'm going to leave it right now. We only got 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to close up the Friday show, but I'm going to get back, you know. Let me tell you exactly what's happening. I want all you people out there, if you know of a station in your area, if you know somebody, a church that wants me to speak, I've spoken at 3 or 4 different churches. Most of them, all of them want to remain anonymous because they don't want to be targeted. You can't blame them, really. And I said, well, what, you know, I won't give the name out, but I'll go speak. So if you want that, I'll do that. Secondly, if you know, I am trying to get this message out to other places. Now, we're already on one AM station, and I want to get some more. Because people enjoy listening to this, even though they criticize, you know, I get so much. I got an email the other day. You are nuts, Greg. All right. Because you think that the whole world is against all of you people who don't believe in America and the Pope, and you know, I'm going, who is this guy? You know what, though? That's the spokesman for mainstream America talking. Because that's what they believe. They believe that crazy stuff. You know, like, you know, I always like to make analogies of, you know, we always talk about books. 1984. Oh, we're living in How about Brave New World? I'd say that's a better one. Everybody loves this stuff. People love to get, you know what. They like being screwed over. Otherwise, they wouldn't put up with it. But they like it. Oh, they'll believe all this fantasy from their leaders. We don't care if we put ministers in jail who didn't do anything. As long as that black robe idiot said, yes, he did. You know, even if he didn't violate anything, yes, you can convict him for just sitting on a bus with kids going across state lines. That's our legal system. And people believe it. Oh, they think it's great. Oh, we got the best legal system in the world. Oh, really? Yeah, you know, I'll tell you what. We'd be better off with a Wild West legal system. You know? It sounds good. We do all the right things. But really, I spent 4 years in these law schools. You know what? They're turning out cookie cutter guys that just are going to follow the party line. And you know, oh, you might get this great defense attorney who can get you off a good DUI case, but you ain't going to buck this system, man. You get to that level and you just better play ball or you ain't going to be around. And there's too much money going around up there anyway to be worried about just us people. Yeah, they don't care about you. The government and the Vatican, whatever they say, do not care one bit about you and want to take everything you have and put it in their own pocket. That's exactly what they do. And they'll run over anybody to do it. So please, let's get this story out on the AM stations, the FM stations. Send press releases. Contact me. Don't be afraid. I won't give them, I'll use a phony name. I'll protect you. Don't worry. You got to talk about this stuff. And let's have some fun doing it. I mean, what else can we do at this point? Are you just going to let these guys get away with it? At least let them know you know. I mean, we may not win the war here, but man, you'll win in the end. And I think you know what I mean by that. Oh, you will win in the end, because by understanding it, you've already beat them. But how many people don't even want to question their belief system? We're going to let all this stuff just go, oh, I think, you know what? I think I'll just sit down and have a beer. Well, have a good weekend. Ponder these questions back on Monday on the Investigative Journal.